Dave, what do you rank right now, man?
I think I'm still ranked number 6 in the WBO, but as far as I know, I'm supposed to move up into the top 5. So yeah, trying to get that WBO title fight. So I'm looking forward to Okolie versus Glowacki this weekend, and yeah, try and work on the winner of that.
What does it feel like to be walking around knowing that you're one of the best fighters in the world? Like, does that change like your mindset? Like, do people know this? Like,
well, you know, you gotta live like you've already got it. You know, you gotta live like you're already the champ. But people sort of they don't recognize you or anything. But you know, it's not over till it's over. It's not done till they've reached that pinnacle. Yeah.
But you believe it, right? Like that's part of your spirit, right? That like you know you're elite right now, like elite level of fighter.
Yeah, man, and part of that's been traveling around the world, been like watching a lot of like who's out there and figuring out tactics around how you take them on and working on it in the gym, seeing that you can do it, you know. Belief doesn't come just for like waking up in the morning and telling yourself you believe. You work on it, and we train like champs, so because we do believe it.
What about the mental side of it? Like, do you need to see like a mental coach to get the mindset, or is that something you don't sort of use in your?
No, it is something like, especially early on, you know, when you're just a young lad fighting every week, all the guys around Auckland, and you know, you got to put yourself in that situation. You got to put yourself into the future, you know, a few years. But I did have a mental coach, David Neath.
David Neath,
yeah,
he's renowned, right?
Yeah, and he was awesome, and he's definitely helped me like realize, you know, what we can do and our potential. You know, it's not bullshit. He's just telling you the facts, and you just got to have the balls to believe it.
Because even Junior Fast, he's the same guy, and yeah. What is it? Do you go through breathing techniques, or is it like a 1 hour session, or I don't know?
I think it's just clearing out the clutter, you know, clearing out all the distractions, all the excuses, you know. I guess it's that famous Nelson Mandela speech where he's like, we're all afraid we're not afraid of failure, we're afraid of success, you know. So we load upon ourselves all of the excuses so that when we do eventually fail, we can say, oh, it was that, it wasn't me, you know. But I'd rather have no excuses and lose, and so I can have a look at myself, and at least I know that it was me who was out there who lost. And I think it's just taking the responsibility of that, you know, taking it all upon yourself and not allowing yourself any excuses and that. And I think it showed with Junior, like his work with Neath and like the things that he's been working on mentally.
Because the way he walked in the ring with his arms stretched out, the smile, even before like leading up to the fight, he just looked super confident. Like he looked super composed. I don't know. I could see something different in him, you know. Yeah.
I think if he had like maybe a bit of a warm up, he could have done even better, you know. Like I think with what happened with his medical side of his life, you know, it was a bit of a man, can I get to the end of this? So that was in his mind.
Correct.
So there was an issue late in the fight where I thought he could really push the issue, and he could have really turned the tide of the fight. And then you saw him take a step back, and then you're like, he's just trying to make the end, you know. It's just like, you could have had it, you know. But
because when you say you could have had it, he could have changed everything. He could have changed his whole life. He could have gone down in the history books. It could have been a story. They could have made a movie about it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they could have. But you know, it was just that. It's, you know, it gets to that one moment, you know. At one moment with guys, and that was the moment for me. I don't know where it was. Even it was quite late in the fight, maybe the 10th, or where Joe looked gassed. Junior looked like he had a bit more steam, and it was like, and Junior was landing right hands, leading off a bit, landing a bit more, and it was like, man, you could push it. You know, you could totally change your tactics right now and push him back, but he still took that step back, and I was like, yeah. He could have had it, you know. I mean. He could have not just survived. He could have won that fight, definitely.
What are your other thoughts on the fight? Like, you know, you were a commentator. What exactly were you doing on that night? So you were an offside commentator. So is it between rounds, or when were you on air?
Yeah, I guess they do that like fight analysis. You know, they go out to some, I don't know. They do it on like heaps of boxing broadcasts where they go to some experienced fighters or whatever, and sometimes overseas, and just get their perspective on some of the fights. So yeah.
So can you break it down? So like how did you find the fight otherwise?
The Junior Fa fight. I found it. I was impressed with Junior. Like he was moving a lot in the beginning, moving around, and I thought, man, because we haven't really seen him do that before without getting totally gassed. But it went all right for him, and I just think he was on the back foot, which is all right, but he wasn't leading off enough, and so Joseph just took the first 5 rounds easy without really having to do much even. And then once, in a 12-round fight, if you already lost half the rounds, it's very hard to turn it around. So that's just kind of how I saw the fight. And then I just thought Joseph was just, I mean, Junior was grabbing a lot, obviously, but Joseph was diving in a bit, not really. I think he could have held his punches back, walked in, made Junior grab him, but because he was diving in, it kind of gave Junior an excuse to grab him and get him in those headlocks and stuff without getting any points off from the ref. So, yeah.
But do you think that was a smart tactic to tie Joe up, just because of how dangerous he is, offensively? Was that a good strategy?
Yeah, I think it was a little like Junior has always been a kind of style that Joe doesn't work well with Joe. Like the kind of boxer who's standing off, who wants to slow everything down. Like you see Joe get in a war with someone like Dillian White, and it's fireworks, and he loves that kind of fight because he's got the hand speed to. But guys who are just staying on the outside and tying him up and not exchanging with him, that's kind of a bit of the worst thing that he can take. So even for him to just get the win and something like that in a fight like that, which is kind of a little bit out of his comfort zone, is good. But
sure. That brings me to Joseph's now, his new opponent is Derek Chisora, that's been announced. Yeah. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, that's exactly my point. It's not going to be the same fight at all. Joe's going to be able to show a lot more of who he is and what talents he's got, in that fight, because Chisora is just someone who comes forward and tries to grind you out. So in my mind, it's going to be a fireworks fight, I reckon. But Joe could stop him early with just blinding hand speed, and Chisora will maybe walk into a punch. Plus he's a bit older now, but walk into a punch that he doesn't quite see. And but will he gas him out? Because that's sort of Chisora's thing. Yeah, but so that when you're looking at the fight like that way, that those are the two options. It's still a barn burner, it's still an awesome fight. So yeah, but I'll definitely tip Joe on that one, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, so you're going, because that's a make or break fight, right? I mean, that's Derek is the gateway, he holds the key to Dillian White, he holds the key to Anthony Joshua. So he kind of needs this to rescue his career, right?
Mm. Yeah. I think they both do. Yeah, they both do.
Yeah.
So this is sort of like an elimination fight.
So what was this fight you were saying next week is happening and you were looking out for the winner? So what's happening? Fill me in. Maybe I don't.
This week, WBO World Title fight for the Cruiserweight. So it's Lawrence Okolie versus Glowacki from Poland. I mean, Lawrence is tipped to win that one, and Lawrence is 6'5", so he's good and powerful. But yeah, we're looking to get the winner of that fight.
And do you know what their ranking is? The WBO.
So they're the number 2 and 3 in the WBO. Yeah.
So that's definitely a likely fight that could happen. Okay, so that's something I'll watch this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And who do you think is going to win that?
Tip Lawrence to win it. Glowacki's he's definitely dangerous. He's always dangerous, but I think it's age. He's been around a while. Yeah.
Okay, look, so I haven't followed the cruiserweights much, but I need to. Okay, I'll definitely watch this out, because if you're going to be facing them, look, I better do my homework. Yeah, so Glowacki.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's how it's spelled. It's probably pronounced completely differently. I probably butchered it, but that's how it sort of sounds in English.
Look, me, I'm always trying to stir up some drama, but what about Jai Opetaia? Yeah, so what's he ranked at, and is that fight something even on your radar or not really?
I think that's a future fight. I think he's ranked high in the IBF.
IBF.
So I think he's looking to secure that title before he takes any risks.
But has he got any belts right now? Is he a champion of any division?
World champion?
Does he have a strap?
Well, I mean, he's got different regional straps. Yeah, so I think he must have an IBF regional, which has got him up the rankings in the IBF. So he would definitely be looking to go for the IBF crown, and then. And it's kind of makes sense. If I get the WBO, he gets to the IBF, we do a unification fight, and for Australasia, that'll be a huge fight. That a lot of people will get. More people will get the opportunity to see that fight because it will be more publicized, reach more people. I think that's sort of what he's thinking. I think it kind of makes sense. It's just how the sport is. Okay. You fight guys early, and then, you know, you lose the opportunity to make money fighting that guy later. Why would you do that?
Interesting. So you think Joe Biden got 80 million votes?
Hell no.
Look, man, I don't want to say anything about politics. I don't know, because now you're on Sky and stuff. Like, maybe we have to be careful what we say, but what's happening there, man?
It's funny. The whole conspiracy theorist thing is funny, eh? Like, everyone was willing to believe that the US did an inside job on the Twin Towers. Like, that was, like, common. It was like, you're an idiot if you didn't believe that.
Yeah, like Joe Rogan, big names are talking about it.
And it's kind of like, yeah, like, that's maybe really what happened. But, like, to think that people in power conspire against the population, the general population, that makes you some sort of wingnut. I mean, you have to be a moron not to think that the people in power don't conspire against ordinary people.
Correct, yeah.
So to believe that they would manipulate an election, which is what they believed with George Bush, what they believe with everyone else. Now if you say it, it's like you're a complete... And plus they had an unprecedented amount of like absentee ballot votes and you know, people staying home because of the coronavirus. Correct. I mean, it all just seemed very, very well planned out. That just is how it seems. And like to even say that now gets you ostracized from society as some sort of alt-right, white supremacist,
that's
complete crazy, like, yeah, just every tag that they can throw at you from the book just to completely shut down and ostracize you so that nothing that you say. And like, you know, even just saying it now, it's like, you see how many people, even just for like suggesting it, that it's weird, and they get, you know, they lose their jobs, they get kicked out. So
not even lose your job, they deplatform you. Like they took him out of Twitter. Like, what do you think of Twitter banning the sitting president of the United States of America? What was your reaction to that?
They did that while he was still in, eh? Yeah. Part of me is like, it's a private company, with all that libertarian crap that we always say. But part of me is like, who gives a shit? It's like, it's Twitter. It's like, fuck, I don't have Twitter. Who cares?
But that was his mouthpiece, you know? Like, that's how he communicated. Like, I haven't seen him on YouTube. I haven't seen him anywhere. I don't know where he's gone.
Yeah, but like, okay, Twitter's a left-leaning company. So they don't like the right-wingers on there. So the right-wingers don't get to be on there. So who cares? Like, I know they tried to start their own thing, like Parler or whatever. They didn't quite get going because Apple didn't. But it's the same thing. It's like the lefties, they earned it. They made Apple. They made Twitter. They made all these things. And then the right wing is just having a big cry about getting kicked off social media. It's just pathetic. And it's just boring. I'm so bored of it.
Oh, no.
It's like, have a cry, man. Like, do your own thing. If you can't do your own thing, if you can't generate enough interest, don't have a cry about it. Like, these, just let the liberals use Twitter and all whine to each other. Like,
so are you saying, look, make your own platform, and like if they're taking you off like your financial, find out other ways to do it. Like, you know, like Parler needs to find.
The main thing I'm saying is stop whinging. Like, we like the people of reasonable people. I'm not a right winger. Like, I'm against all the ideology. I think ideology is just like poisons people's rational thinking. I mean, almost by definition. It's like you have this worldview, everything has to fit into that. If it doesn't, you must get rid of it. It's like, whether it's right wing or left wing, it's bad. And, you know, reasonable people, we're not going to win by whinging. We're just going to make it seem like it's an ideological war, and then ordinary good people are going to be turned off. And, you know, if we're going to win people over, we've got to do it by showing how much more fun we are than the liberals who want to cry about everything and shut everything down. It's boring. Normal people are going to come over to our side if we stop complaining. We're whining about Twitter and whining about Facebook and whining about all this stuff. It's not helping. We don't need those things. Those things might end up falling over on their own. So, like...
But do you think people are now smarter, like the general public are much smarter than, like they're not going to believe anything that's on CNN? Like, do you think there's a change in the mindset?
Yeah, I mean, like, broadcast networks have been crap forever, though, you know, they've been lying to people forever. I mean, they sold the war to everyone. You know, they sold the Iraq War and the Afghan War that they're still in, by the way.
When did you realize this? Like, when did you, I don't want to say woke or awakening, but when did you realize, like, okay, we might be getting lied to?
I don't know, just got older and mature.
Because I used to believe it. I thought you had to report, like, facts. Like, I just thought a news organization would report facts. I used to believe it.
Yeah.
And then later on, I was like, okay, I see what's going on. There's an agenda, there's a viewpoint, there's bias.
CNN seems to be on the wrong side of the issue on every single issue.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they were for the Iraq War, and then and now they're for the stuff that they're doing in Syria, which is like, have you not learned?
How do you think Biden's doing so far?
I still think he's just decrepit old man. He's no, I don't mean that in like a slanderous way. Just like he's old and he's like not quite with it. And it's a high pressure job and he can't last in it.
Okay, look. One more thing, okay? One more thing, okay? What about the Meghan Markle situation? What do you think of that? I know you might not care about it, but what do you think?
I just love how the whitest, most white the epitome of white privilege that you could possibly find. White privilege, cis male that you could get in Prince Harry, and like everyone's feeling sorry for him. Like he's got the whole woke crowd behind him. That's just, I don't know. You gotta appreciate the irony.
What do you think of Meghan Markle in that interview with Oprah, and what was your thoughts on that?
I don't watch it, but yeah. First of all, I don't care. But she's just jumping on the bandwagon of everyone's a victim these days, you know, and she's just trying to become the royal family of victims in Hollywood.
You know she's gonna run, right? Like they're thinking of running for president.
Oh yeah. Well, it can't get any worse than what they got. It's like for the last like 4 decades. So I mean, it seems to be a celebrity match now anyway. So who cares?
Look, man, I think look, I like talking about this stuff with you, but I'll call it quits. But it's
my family are gonna watch this like 4 or 5 times each.
Look, your insight is incredible, man.
People who watch.
your insight is incredible on this. Like I don't know, it's quite open-minded. Like it's not the typical closed-minded perspective you're getting on it.
Dude, we're gonna win the political and cultural war by living our lives well. We're not by just getting really involved and complaining on Twitter, I think.
Is that the advice you have? Like what advice would you give people?
I feel like the Twitter has power. All the people on Twitter have power because all the people are looking at the people on Twitter, which is something like, you know, the most avid Twitter users is like 2% of the population? Yeah. And it's like, but that seems to be the narrative that controls everything else. It's like, if you just ignore the thing, it goes away. And I think ordinary people do kind of ignore it. And they are getting more and more like that. You know, Twitter was failing big time before President Trump used it. Correct. He's the one who got the stock price way back up. Otherwise, it was almost looking like a dead company. Correct, yeah. So, you know, right wingers, pat yourself on the back. You resurrected Twitter, and now you've given it all this power. If you just ignored it, it would have been fine.
But what do you say to people that feel like, look, they got robbed of an election? Like, just wait for the next one and try and fix it, or?
I think if all your hope is in the office of the presidency of the United States, then good luck.
Now that you say it,
you got to just do it. Like you know. Everyone thinks that it's the character of the president who's going to make the country. It's the character of the people. Correct. So be a good person. Stop living your life ideologically bent, and just, you know, looking at all these things that like, it can't not poison your state of mind, you know. It can't not make you just angry and, you know, where you're watching right wing or left wing, they're all just moaning about each other. Well, you can't possibly do it without getting depressed and angry. And it's like, why do you want to be like that? You don't want to be like that. You're not going to fix the country getting like that. You're not going to fix anything in the West getting like that. And it's like, Lord knows we've got shitloads of problems, even in New Zealand. We're going to fix it, you know, just fucking living our lives well and being nice to each other. So that's all I got. Getting a little bit deep.
Were you annoyed when Jacinda did the lockdown recently? Were you annoyed when Jacinda did the lockdown?
Nah. I think she's done pretty well, to be honest. I think she's done pretty, like, in that, like, this country, like, we're way more relatively free than everyone else. Correct. And so, like, if it was a national government and everyone on the right wing in New Zealand would be saying, you know, it could have been way worse. We could have been like Germany. We could have been like England. Could have been like America. You know, we did a few lockdowns, but it's, you know, it was enough, and it's just didn't seem to want to keep it open. You know, enough.
She's handled it right. Like, you know, I mean,
she couldn't just ignore it, because then we become, you know, we've done it in a way that we've stayed relatively open and kept a positive light, and, you know, with the rest of the world. I mean, I think, like, as much as I would never vote for her, because I'm just not that, I'd say she's actually done a pretty good job. Just if you're going to look at it, like, if there was a national leader, and what would you think? And then I think, yeah, I would probably be all right with it.
Look, you're a fighter. You're probably going to be traveling the world, you know, maybe in your next fight. But would you consider getting the vaccination?
Yeah.
The Pfizer one?
Just have to do it, eh?
Okay. So you're not one of those, like, anti-vaccines, or, like, you would say, yeah, why not?
Well, I don't like people who try and force, you know, my body, my choice. So people try, you know, I'm choosing to take it. But people who don't want to inject themselves with some mysterious goo that, you know, they don't trust, you know, whether or not it's been tested or whatever, like, if you don't trust it, you don't have to, no one can force you to inject yourself with something. That should just be, everyone should accept that. That should be something that is bipartisan. But it's not. It just shows how far the Liberals have gone into, like, kind of almost McCarthyanism, taking on that right-wing thing. Like, the pendulum swung so far the other way from right to left that they're now the bloody McCarthyists.
All right, last question. So we got an event. So we got Motu fighting next week.
Back to boxing.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, and tell us about any updates with Peach. What's happening?
Man, everything's just going bloody amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting, like, way better. You can just tell, like.
Yeah, I mean, just then you were sparring with, like, you know, 3 of the best fighters in the country.
Yeah, and we're all
And then Motu was training there with Aaron. And what's it like, you know, what's it like with Sesi as well? Like, you know, has he done pads for you a lot?
He's becoming, like, a just amazing trainer. He's like looking at everyone's training methods all around the world. You know, Canelo's training methods, GB training methods. They've printed out all their stuff and made it available to the general public. So they've got like 10 books on, like, how to do boxing training. And it's mainly for amateurs, but, like, there's so much good stuff in there. He's, like, goes through it hard out, brings all that stuff to training.
Because I heard you say Canelo or something when you were doing the pad. You said, let's do the Canelo.
I've just been watching a lot of Canelo and trying to adapt his style, you know. I mean, I think that's a big part of boxing these days is you got to watch a lot, and you got to take what you can from the guys at the top.
So it's Canelo you really like at the moment? Any other fighters that you got a keen eye for? Like, you're like, man, that's...
Yeah, I'm loving the Mexican style at the moment, you know, like, just for the pros, you know, they do the programs so well, you know. All the South American fighters, they even like the Morales, you know, Barrera, all those guys. So I've been watching a lot of Duran, even though he's just more of a freak and you can't really replicate what he does too much. But, you know, Canelo is just, what I love about Canelo is he's like, you're not going to say he's the biggest boxer, biggest puncher, fastest or anything. He just does the sport incredibly well, you know. Right. And, like, so there's always stuff that you can learn from him that you wouldn't be able to say learn from, like, Roy Jones, because who's got that kind of reaction and power, you know.
How do you see him doing against Billy Saunders?
It's just, I think that's a good fight, but yeah, Canelo. Yeah.
Canelo easily, or?
Yeah, I'd say Canelo. Yeah, pretty decisively.
Okay. Because Billy beat what's his name? I can't remember. It's it's just this. There's a father and son combination, and one is a junior. Oh man, I can't believe I forget his name. He's a really well polished fighter, like a very famous fighter in the UK, and his son now fights.
Eubank.
Yeah, Eubank, Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah, so once he beat him, I thought Billy Saunders is something special now.
Yeah. Yeah, but Canelo would destroy Eubank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about, like, is there any contemporary fighters that you apart from Canelo?
Apart from Canelo, man.
Obviously the cruiserweight division, I guess.
Yeah, man, I really liked Valdez versus Menashe.
Even I'm having brain freeze.
Yeah. Valdez, I mean, he got a like brilliant knockout the other day, and it was just so good and so clinical, and he's just, and you know, he's got Canelo in his corner, and then you got not Canelo in his corner, but Canelo's trainers, and then you got like, you know, Garcia. I've got a lot of respect for the young Garcia and the lightweights. It's lightweight, eh? Yeah, so yeah, and then he's got Canelo's trainers too. So I think those guys are just proving that that's the way to do the sport. You know, they're getting a little bit more away from that, just like finding what you have that's like special about you and exploiting that as much as you can, rather than getting back to like serious boxing tactics and using that. And I've been trying to do that and like watching a lot. And I think, and we've all been doing it a bit and improving like massively. So.
What about Gervonta Davis? Do you keep a track of him?
Yeah, he's pretty good, eh?
He's crazy, right? I mean,
that uppercut, man.
Jesus.
Just the way he slipped and like got that in, it was incredible. Yeah, that was.
And that's no easy opponent, man.
Looking real good, eh? Yeah. No way. Yeah, so. Yeah.
All right. We've covered. I think we've covered politics. We've covered Meghan. We covered the UK stuff.
Shit, you ready to go run? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got carried away.
Hey man. Yeah. Thanks for taking the time. And hey, good seeing you on the big screen, man. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Keep it up, man. So hopefully we'll get in touch after the fight next week.
Yeah.
And maybe Yeah.
I haven't even been watching anything.
Me too. I've kind of checked out.
I'm completely checked out.
Yeah. But what's
the
it
night
do?
of the election.
Yeah. Same. Exactly the same, man. Anyway, thank you. All right.